Hello and welcome to the King Pair podcast. As you know, July was full of cricketing action. Australia versus England, England versus South Africa, Pakistan versus Sri Lanka, and the Kiwi and South African adventures in the Europe. And to talk me through all of it with me, I have Stuff. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. It's nice to be back.
So first of all, before we kick into the white ball issues of England, I'd like to know your opinion about what you have seen in Josh Butler's captaincy as of right now in all the recent 12 games that we have seen. Actually, he has captained 10 of them. The first two were captained by Ian Morgan. So, what have you noticed about his captaincy? Was it good for you? Was it bad? Was he as proactive as Ian Morgan is?
I think his captaincy's been fine. Like he hasn't had that much to work with. Um, from what I know, Butler is not. He's a much more quieter and reserved member of the squad than Morgan, so he may not be as good of a people person manager. But on the field, I think his tactics have been fine. He's been decent with managing his field, with managing his bowlers. I think probably the biggest problem with Butler's captaincy that Morgan didn't have was I know Butler has talked a lot about how little time they've had to just do training sessions uh, this summer. So that might be an issue that he's come across that Morgan really didn't have that often. It's just that he hasn't been able to train with his team and really nail something down outside of the games. But overall, I think his captaincy's fine, and he'll grow into it. I'm pretty sure. I don't think England will have to worry too much about the captaincy.
And that also brings me to a similar issue that you talked about. Because as we already know that before the ODI series against India, the last time England played an ODI was in July last year. So it seems like ODI has been that one format that England has not been playing that much. I mean, even that three-match series against Pakistan was mostly B-side, although that was due to COVID. But does it seem like this whole scheduling is kind of busy on one side, but at the same time, it doesn't have enough of the ODI cricket?
Yeah, so England have played I think 12 ODIs in the space of a month at this point, like since the tour of the Netherlands. So my perspective of time is a little wonky, but that was 2 months ago, I think. And they've played 12 ODIs since then, and they hadn't played any for the previous year. So it's not that they're playing too much. I think it's just that it's all condensed. It's not spaced out at all. It's a major issue, right? Because they went so long without playing any 50 over cricket, and especially with 50 over cricket, you don't play that domestically anymore. Um, like I don't think a single England player in their ODI squad played any domestic 50 over cricket over the last year. So going so long without playing it, they're going to be a little rusty with how to handle it, and then playing it all back to back to back to back to back. Uh, while they might have had time to work out some strategies, it's all still they're just mostly making it up as they go. So they just haven't had that preparation to build up to, and personnel changes as well with the team hasn't helped that much either. Yeah, it's just a very messy situation that the COVID condensed schedule and just the general nature of England's very busy schedule hasn't helped at all.
Yeah, I think people were making jokes about how they used to be bad at red ball cricket that has now transferred to the ODIs, and their ODI form has transferred to the red ball, I guess.
Yeah,
And that also brings us to one another thing, especially since, as we said, the games are not really spaced out well, and there's not enough white ball happening in domestic as well. And there's guys like Jason Roy, or someone someone like Ben Stokes, who has been on and off on breaks recently. It doesn't help these guys, especially given that they have all their white ball cricket, you know, that is all they are playing. And since England basically didn't have either of them going for a while, I think they didn't have anything between that West Indies T20 series and the Netherlands series, if I'm not wrong. and Jason Roy was obviously also not the part of IPL as well. So that doesn't help when there's not a lot of practice on their side, I guess. But on the other side, there's also retirements of Ben Stokes and in Morgan. And one thing that we sometimes forget is, even though England is kind of been the kind of white ball team where they like to attack from the first ball, but there's always been the factor of Ben Stokes and Morgan, who usually stabilize things in the middle order. So do you think that has been the biggest issue for them now that someone like Morgan was not there in the middle to keep control on the proceedings, and at the same time Ben Stokes in what games he played was also kind of out of form.
Yeah, that plays a part in it, and yeah, it just like hits back again at the a big problem with England's 50 over cricket right now, that they just don't play enough, like especially domestically. So if you want to replace Owen Morgan, how can you replace him with a player that hasn't played in that sort of role in a very long time, because they just don't play domestic 50 over cricket much anymore. So, for the last few summers, 2020 summer, there was no domestic 50 over cricket at all because of COVID. 2021, if you were a decent white ball player, you wouldn't play in the 50 over trophy because you would be playing in the 100. Same this summer. And the England Lions just don't play that much anymore. They don't play 50 over cricket. I don't think they've played a 50 over match in quite a while. And so, yeah, you're going all the way back to summer 2019 for the last time most of the best white ball players in England played 50 over cricket. So, how do you expect someone to replace Morgan, playing the same role as Morgan, with no experience doing that, no recent experience doing that?
Yeah, and there's also that thing that the kind of arrangement that ECB has made recently. I mean, as you said, there's more people playing the 100 than there's people Royal London One Day Cup. And even though the 100 has a lot of international players coming in this year, it is much more than last year. There's also the Aussie and the Kiwi players that were missing last year. I think there's still a missing factor of kind of the kind of situations that prepare you for the role that you said of that middle order bat that you'll probably not get in a 100 ball format, especially given that it is all just to come in and smash the ball, while the Royal London One Day Cup is played by mostly the second 11 guys. So I guess it sometimes comes down to the priorities that the ECB is setting. So do you think it is really ECB's fault here to put the 100 and Royal London One Day Cup in the time that they could get, or do you think it is just that the season is the one that keeps running and others will have to make space for it?
I think it's definitely the ECB's fault. This is just like, what do they want to prioritize? They've clearly said we want to prioritize T20 cricket, we want to prioritize shorter format cricket. So we're going to give that its own window. We're going to give the 100 its own window. That's basically their T20 league. And, if that's what they want to do, fine. But they need to also recognize that by doing that at the expense of the 50 over competition, you're going to be a worse 50 over team. Like we've said a lot on this podcast before, the only way to prepare for international cricket is to play something close to it. So the only way to prepare for T20 cricket is to play T20 cricket. The only way to prepare for one day cricket is to play one day cricket. So if your best players are not playing one day cricket, how do you expect them to be any good at one day cricket?
Yeah, that is the case, especially with the England has in past, especially in Morgan said that he was trying to use IPL as kind of an audition for the up and coming white ball players for England. But again, as you said, we sometimes forget that it was back in the time when ECB was better on the scheduling, and there was white ball domestic cricket going on. So I guess IPL was just an extra help, I guess, rather than it being the complete audition. Or maybe that is how things go. I mean, you can't just, as you said, can't just rely on T20 cricket to prepare a 50 over batter or 50 over bowler. So I guess that is what is causing the issues for England right now.